What's up, Juventus? Welcome back to the AJC, your channel dedicated to Juventus. I just wanted a victory show, okay? But those have been, for some reason, eluding us way too much this damn season, all right? But we're going to get to the latest one. 1-1 draw with Lazio. More self-inflicted pain for Juve, we call it. And we'll go through a Kalulu seeing red. Couple other guys getting cards. Everything's compromised right now, and we're scoreboard watching, unfortunately. But it is still Mother's Day, so show some love to the mothers out there, or to the mothers out there. Happy Mother's Day to my mama, who will take the young girls over to see later on, and that'll cheer me up and make me happy. And you know what cheered me up actually yesterday? I had a nap in the first time in God knows how long. My girls, okay, that are always running a mile a minute, actually just came over to the couch and were like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I was like, unfortunately, trying to make sense of what the hell just happened in the game I watched. And they're like, "Yeah, we just want to snuggle." Amazing. Amazing moment. Made me happy. All right? But now that we got to go through it again, I might get fired up. Paolo, how you doing? How you doing, brother?
I'm good. Good to see you both. If you want to snuggle, I'll snuggle.
Nice. There we go. Trim, how you doing?
We might all need that after yesterday's performance. I'm doing all right, man. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, of course. And after this show, I'll definitely be trying to, distract myself by going to visit the moms and hang out with them. But we got to tackle business, man. This was a sleeper, so I don't blame you for having that nap, Berto. That's for sure.
We got to talk, yeah, the first half for sure. And I mean, the second half, a little more excitement, but probably not in any of the ways we would have liked it to go down. Big shout out to everybody that's in the army, that's in the chat here right now. Take a second, like the video. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, okay? And we got the next giveaway. That'll be right at the next match against Udinese, and we'll try to come up with a friggin' lineup for that match too. We'll talk about all that because it's all in the aftermath of this game to Lazio here, where that ended 1-1. Your lineup, the only real call that Tudor made was playing Alberto Costa. And, Nuno Tavares was out for Lazio, so it actually made sense if you were going to do it. He had to deal with Pellegrini there, which is obviously not as much a handful as Nuno Tavares. Everything else there was straightforward. I said maybe, just maybe, the weight of the game, if you have that much trust in McKennie to where you don't want to play a natural advanced player, maybe you put him there and get an Adzic, get an Imbangula, who we haven't seen in a long time, or a Chico. Just get somebody more advanced. That's the only real thing I could have thought of for the lineup, but I didn't have a major issue by any means. It's the only one move I was thinking about. What were your thoughts on the lineup? Did you want to see maybe somebody more advanced, like an actual forward up there next to Nico behind Kolomuani, or did you think what he did was the right call? Paulo?
Every time I look at the lineup, I get upset because I think about our poor depth and the lack of choices we have. We saw Savona on the left again, and I've always been a Savona fan, but on the left, we can all understand he struggles more. I don't know if Kalulu would have had more luck on the left with the experience he has and the speed. But and I would have liked to have seen Adzic get in there. He did, but with such limited choices, we're kind of in this situation where you get what you get.
Yeah. Trim.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, overall thoughts on the lineup. I mean, it's kind of what we have to kind of go through in terms of player selection. We don't really have many options, but I think even dating back to, I know, last week's match, pregame I mentioned it would have been nice to just maybe see Conceição get the start, just because I feel like his energy off from the start of the game, the start of the match, would have maybe been able to create some chances early on, and who knows, maybe we would have bagged one early. Obviously, that didn't play too much of a factor because we did end up getting the lead. But that was the only thing. But as we get into it, I was actually really impressed, and I have to admit, for me, McKennie played well. Yeah. So because he would have been the guy that I would have taken out for Conceição. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, because this first half, there's really nothing to talk about. I mean, let's be honest. That was as drab a first half as they come. I thought Juve did a good job to get into moments or sequences where they could have created some opportunities, more so than Lazio. Lazio finished with 2 total attempts in the first half. Nothing. We finished with 6 attempts. I still don't know how we figured that we had a big chance in that first half. They might have been calculating that shot, that volley from Alberto Costa that needed a clearance. They might have counted that as a big chance. Maybe they counted the cross into Kolomuani that he tried to volley as a big chance. I didn't see neither as a big scoring chance. But nonetheless, they gave us 1 and we had 6 attempts. But we really... the final third, the passing up there was just awful. Straight up, just awful. Connection between the players, it's all the same that we've talked about throughout the season, sadly. Lack of chemistry, poor passing, and to be honest, the first half, I was becoming very frustrated with Juventus players. Thuram, Nico, Colo. Colo was trying to do way too much in the first half. Way too much. Wasn't keeping it simple. Thuram had gotten into good positions where he could have shot. Kept passing it up. It felt like we wanted to tic-tac-toe right to the goal line. Instead of just taking care of business. You have a line of sight on goal, shoot. And I said that Mandas, their keeper, I said he looked so, shaken to me the entire time. Like, he didn't have sure hands. He looked so sketchy to me. I'm like, when you see a keeper like that, you just fire the damn ball from everywhere. Like, keep putting him under. That one chance that fell to Costa was him going up for an easy catch, and he just dropped it right through his hands. I'm like, this guy, shoot the damn ball, please. But nonetheless, nothing at all in the first half. Trim, you brought up McKennie, and that was interesting because I actually said I probably would have taken McKennie at the half if I had a call. It was between him and Nico to make some type of change. I thought Alberto Costa was doing just fine. I wasn't threatened at all by Lazio. So I was like, yeah, we can probably keep going the same on the outsides as we were and maybe try to get a little more impact offensively. So I was looking at, maybe McKennie. And you were kind of mentioning you were thinking the same thing at half?
Yeah, even like I said, even just to start the game, because I would have just liked to see Weston come off the bench. More so that than anything. It's nothing to do with his play as of late. It was just more to kind of change it up because it seems like the last few games we've had the same lineup and it just feels stagnant to start. I mean, based on how that first half went, right? We weren't really creating much. So having Chico in there would have been nice to just see, because when he did ultimately come in, he looked like he was trying to create a little bit, but then obviously we go down a man and that kind of changes things, right? So going into half, I was surprised to see Nico as the one to be pulled out.
Yeah. And Paulo, what'd you think at half? Were you thinking of a particular change?
One thing I think I saw in the first half was we were a lot more compact. I think we had McKennie and Nico in a little tighter, and we were a little more compact in the middle. And I think it looked like, to me, I thought Tudor was trying to control the space in the middle, be more physical and more compact, and push Lazio to the edges a little bit. So it felt like we had some kind of physical defensive offensive agenda. I'm not sure if that was the case, but it felt like a different shape. And I didn't mind Costa. I thought the passing was a bit messy in the middle and it was a bit crowded in there as a result. You're right, Kolomuani was probably getting a couple of touches too many. I did like Locatelli taking corners though. I think he had a nice hard swing and kick a couple of times, so that was nice to see. You don't see him doing that very often.
Yeah, he had 2 corners. One was right on the money spot, top of the 6, whipped in hard. And I was like,
Screamer.
Man, I was like, holy smokes, best corner I've seen. Sadly, we couldn't get ahead to it. But actually looks like we can deliver one there. But, and we'll talk about set pieces too, because we got another one we got to discuss a little bit later on. At least a little bit of comedy through the match there. But second half, this is where the action kind of comes in, and yeah, a lot of controversy, a lot of fan reactions. You could see even in the chat talking about the officiating, all this, and I'm sure we're gonna get into it. But 51st minute, we open the scoring. The guy I would have probably looked at taking out. Honestly, the buildup was nice. Great passing play by Juventus. McKennie makes a great run into space, gets the ball, and he doesn't overthink it, doesn't take extra touches, just takes a look up, sees Colo there with only one defender ahead of him. The defender had quite a bit of space between him and Colo. He puts this thing with his off foot, left foot, money. And what did I tell you about Mandis looking shaky? He literally stops it with one hand and bats it in with the other, okay? This guy, we should have been peppering this guy. So we were fortunate there, even on the goal we scored. But we'll take it. 1-0. Great team move. Beautiful cross on a weak foot by McKennie. And Kolomouani, whatever. You powered it in through. We won't worry about how it goes in. It's in. 1-0. We're sitting pretty, okay? Lazio's been pretty much useless throughout this moment. Nothing harming us. 9 minutes later, Kalulu, straight red. Castellanos obviously goes down. It looked like nothing. I couldn't see anything on the live play. I'm like, what on earth is he going down for? Saw the replay from the front view facing the two players, Castellanos running in, and I'm like, oh, like you can't see anything that's happening on the backside. And then they switch the camera, albeit it's one from space, okay? And you're looking down, I'm like, holy, okay, that's the closest we can get. Like, can you spare a few more pixels, please? Anyways, unless all of a sudden a wasp was behind Castellanos and Kalulu was trying to do him a service and swat that thing away, he took a full-on swing at the back of him, and you just can't put yourself in that situation. Castellanos is a mutt, and he was dropping all game, as was Zaccagni. That's a whole separate issue, because descent was outrageous. The diving and stuff is usually never in control. In Italy, we just come off a game, we talked about it in the green room, where I like Orsolini as a player, but it was disgusting to watch, and it was almost insufferable, and they don't crack down on it. But nonetheless, from Kalulu's perspective, you can't put yourself in that situation. And when you're 1-0 down, again, the moment, the magnitude, the weight of the match, I'm infuriated with Kalulu. But, you know, your guys' take on this whole thing, this whole situation. There are some arguing never a red, whatnot. I mean, it's a red for me, and it's not even a question. But Trim, your thoughts on that whole sequence?
So it's funny because the way I just thought of it now, the way I would describe that whole play and how it went down, it was almost like back in the day, you know, you're a little kid, you're at Nono and Nana's house, and you do something wrong, and then Nono comes from behind, and he just gives you one of these across the back of the head. That's literally what it was. And seeing it in real time, even though it was from space, as you said, the angle, like you could just see it, man. Like our players, doesn't matter if it was Kalulu, it could have been anybody.
Yeah.
You just played a game a couple matches ago where you saw Yildiz get a red. So you have to think to yourself, like, discipline should be top of mind. You know, I understand things happen during a game. I mean, we were all players once before. We know what it's like to kind of lose your head, or you want to kind of give a guy an extra little shot here and there because you're taking shots throughout the game. And to your point, Al, of, you know, the officiating in terms of like dissent or little things, like the refs are there to police the game. So I'm not the type of fan to like criticize the refs and say, oh, it's all on them, because players they're the ones that are on the field and playing the game. So you have to be in control yourself. So for me, it was a red automatic. You could see it. Again, would we like to see a better angle? Sure, to try to argue and plead a case to say, okay, maybe downgrade it to a yellow. But I mean, when you're using that much force, and again, it's hard to see from there, but like you could see it. It was a full-on swing. When you're swinging like that, it's a red. Like furthermore, look at Yildiz's elbow from a couple weeks back. It's the same thing. Even though he did it kind of light, it's an elbow. When you do this motion, you're going to get a straight red nine
It's the
times out of 10.
violent conduct. It's the
Yes.
blatant. There's no play that has anything to do with the game. It's the violent conduct, right? He took a swing. I mean, I get it. I see in the arguments here in the chat, never a red. I would have liked to see it closer. What difference does it make if it's closer or not? You see a direct swing at the player. I mean, for me, it's a red all day. Trim, it's a red. Paulo, is it a red?
Anytime you make contact with somebody's head, you're going to get it. And it's irresponsible. You can't put your arms, your fists, anything, your feet around somebody's head. So it's a real shame, but it's foolish. It's completely foolish. And Lazio, the way Yildiz got baited, these teams that nobody outside of the 25 people in Rome who care about Lazio, nobody's going to tune in to watch this shit club, except they're playing Juve. So they're all up for this kind of stuff. And the players and Tudor have to be ready to be given extra attention and baited into extra kind of curricular and be disciplined. You have to be disciplined when you're the star of the league and people are coming after you.
You gotta, if we're gonna talk about Massa, it was rough. It was very one-way traffic in terms of the calls for quite some time. In that game, I thought some of the yellows were very, very just quick, early, no warnings. There was a ton of dissent constantly from Lazio. There was a lot of diving and hitting the deck. Castellanos and Zaccagni were main culprits. Massa did not have a good game by any means. That's one thing. He did not have a good game by any means. But to put yourself in that situation and the team and that, you've got to be better. And as Juve, this is part of knowing where you're at, understanding the club you play for, understanding the antics of these teams. There was a quote from Bonucci, and it was backed by Paulo Dybala, said the same thing a month later. And he goes, Paulo Dybala just recently said, we could feel it in the tunnel that we already had these guys beat. You just knew. That's mentality. And you knew that they were going to do all sorts of crap, and you just never went in because you had it up here. And you knew what it'd take. You knew. You want to hurt them? You hurt them in the... If Kalulu really felt a way about that guy, you line it up and you make it happen in game. So when you put yourself like that and you put your team down in that situation, that drives me nuts. Because meanwhile, you had a play where Nico Gonzalez takes a swat in the head from Mandas there, the keeper, and he's down in the area. While he's down in the area, when the ball goes out of play, Guendouzi wastes no time. That guy's another mutt too, by the way. Wastes no time to turn around, stand over him, and yell right directly at Nico while he's on the ground. So Kalulu, you want to take 2 seconds to swat this idiot, get yourself sent off, put yourself in that situation. I don't see you rushing to the aid of Nico and grabbing that guy and pushing him away and say, get the hell away from my player. Not one of our guys did. And this is where I have a problem, is we're choosing to be these tough guys at the worst possible moment in the stupidest situations. It's a team that lacks discipline, lacks leadership, and lacks mentality, and we're seeing it in many different ways. And now we're down the stretch and we're losing our heads over mutts, guys that shouldn't matter. Castellanos wants to come in on you a little bit late. You should laugh at him and be like, you're a mutt. I'll get you. I'll find you. Don't worry. And leave it and continue with the game. And we're getting sucked in, and that's what pisses me off the most, is we still have to look internally. And despite the fact that, the officiating was very, very poor from Massa in this game. And the dissent that constantly runs rampant in this league continues,
And we all know, Bert, we all know if you win 1-0, that's the best punishment for Lazio, right? Is get out of there, win 1-0. We know the win is what works best.
And it sucks because this makes 23 points that we have pissed away from winning positions, and it's always a different manner. always a different culprit, and that's why it's not like one pinpointed thing. It's just we find ways to have self-inflicted wounds. Juve continues to be its own worst enemy, in my personal opinion. What happened yesterday? Nothing to do with Lazio. It had nothing to do with Lazio. That was us. That was us. So he leaves the game. We also get this PK call. This drove me nuts because literally a stupid error, stupid moment from us in passing and just taking the extra time. We lose it. Thankfully, that mutt became offside. Di Gregorio took a lot of flack on coming out on that challenge and then dishing out that PK. How did you feel about that moment before we heard about the offside? Were you hard on Di Gregorio? I was more hard on the situation that we even coughed it up in that manner. But Paolo, what do you think about that sequence?
It was awkward. Savona tries to clear it, bounces off the guy who's stuck to his right, ends up in a strange place. And I was thinking before the game and even during the game how pleased I was with the Tiger, Di Gregorio's play.
He had a great game.
What a great goal he is. He's nice to have. I really like him. I feel good with him, right? And I think he just made a mess of it. So I'm glad it was offside because he kind of screwed that one up a little awkward.
And we can see it in the chat. You know, Di Gregorio was saved by the offside. Another comment, that was on Savona, not Di Gregorio. Trim, your thoughts on that sequence?
Yeah, not too much more to add. I mean, I think it was just a combination of errors and it just, like, Digre earlier in the match, there was one chance where someone was coming down the wing, they tried to cross and he makes that tip with his glove. Like, he makes little subtle plays like that throughout matches, but to kind of Paulo's point, I've noticed, and I think it's just a culmination of our season as a whole. Like, it's just it's up and down. Like, there's plays where he'll make and it's really great and he stands on his head, and then there's other moments where there's like little gaffes that create either goals conceded or just little errors, right? So it's like, yeah, those are ones that you'd love to have back, and luckily it was called offside.
In sticking with the theme, when I think about this sequence, it's literally would have been self-inflicted pain and another self-inflicted wound. A brutal giveaway, awful giveaway. And I tend to give, even though I'm not a keeper, okay, I think the only time I've ever played keeper is in indoor, which I hate because every shot's point blank. But I feel for those guys. I feel for those guys when it's a stupid giveaway that forces them into a bang moment or decision. But I think based on the angle, I would have been infuriated with all of them. I think based on the angle where Di Gregorio was coming out to Castellanos and whatnot, you can't contact him because he's out right by the goal line. Like, just let him work his way out and everything and just leave it there. Just shield your goal. Keep that side out there closed off. But again, he should have never been in that situation. So just a mess. Would have been a complete self-inflicted wound again. But we continue on. Did Tudor bring some self-inflicted pain with that double change of Adzic and Conceição for Gatti and Vlahovic? This was a strange one while we were watching because we seemed to be managing well. He obviously went for height and everything. But Conceição especially, and even Adzic, were doing good as far as the technical ability to just even retain, and Chico was running back at them, chewing valuable minutes. How did you feel about that double change when it happened, that double swing? We'll start with Paolo here.
It was a surprise. Right before the change, the camera was on Adzic, and he was huffing and puffing big time. Now, he's not small. I think he's about 6'1" or something, so he's got some height, and he's a strong kid. So I have to assume that Tudor saw something, or he felt the experience, or maybe he just wanted to say, look, Adzic, go out there, hammer these guys for 10 minutes, and then you're going to come off, but I want you to give me 10 minutes of your best to chase down, hammer, be physical. Like, I don't know what happened on the sideline. Tudor maybe saw something, had something planned. So I was surprised, but I didn't have a problem with it. I figured he had a reason for it.
Okay. Trim? Well, how did you feel about that swing?
Yeah, it was just odd because you take a guy off that you had just put on, and that usually doesn't happen unless there's an injury there. So, I mean, from what I saw, I didn't really see any reason to take Adzic off. Consensao for Vlahovic, I actually really liked for the most part the way that Vlahovic came in moments. He was holding the ball, like especially in stoppage time or injury time. He was trying to hold up the ball and hold up play, and he was taking the ball down the wing to waste time. And he did a fairly decent job. And again, to Paulo's point, like a taller stature guy, so even him and Gatti. But yeah, it was just really, really strange timing. I don't know if that is the direct reason we ended up conceding in the end. And I mean, we'll talk about the play and how it did end up going in, but it was just putting in a guy and then taking him out. That was just kind of strange for me.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking he just wanted the height. He wanted to go the height. He was
Right.
expecting them to just pepper crosses in there, and he went that route. I did think both the guys were doing a good job. I mean, they were drawing fouls too, which was
Yeah.
chewing a lot of clock too while they were on the ball. Nonetheless, Tudor made the decision, and there we go. That was it to close it out. And unfortunately, does not happen. We get a cross that comes in. So Vlahovic taking a little bit of heat for the lead up to this goal as he gets the ball. People are saying, well, come on, dribble out a little bit more and whatnot. He just completely clears it out. Lazio collects. They come back. We get a cross in. I was pretty pissed off that Zaccagni jumps literally directly in, no play for the ball, into the back of Gatti at the back post.
Yeah.
And that one pissed me off because of the fact that Zaccagni's a mutt and Gatti's way bigger. He couldn't sell it as much, and he couldn't, from where Massa, who was already on a shocker, who I don't rate highly as an official, he never looked to it at all. And it can't, for VAR can't even really intervene on that because you can't even look at it and be like, that's clear and blatant obvious error or whatnot. So we're stuck, but I didn't like that at all. I'm like, he's nowhere near making a play for the ball. He's jumping into the back of a player that's trying to make a play on the ball. You're literally supposed to go up in the air, up and down. At anything, a slight angle, but to jump directly into the back player, I didn't like that. I was lobbying for the call on the watch along, thinking, man, you can't do that. Nonetheless, we don't get it. It's back post coverage again. First header off Castellanos. Di Gregorio stops it, but he can't swat it away, and it goes into the path of Vecino. And 1-1. And it ends there. And it's infuriating. It's infuriating. So close to getting through it, and now we're scoreboard watching, and yeah, the overall on this game we've covered in tackling it on the highlights. It's just a lot of regret in our play in the first half. Things that we could do better, be sharper. Maybe we come away a little bit better for that moment, but moments that should never happen. What Kalulu put the team in. Yeah, I mean, it sucks. It sucks. It's always something. That's how it feels like. It's always something. That's how I sum up this game. Always something, it feels like. I don't really have much to add to that. And for me, we might as well get into the aftermath. But is there anything we didn't discuss that you want to talk about this match at the end of it, 1-1?
Nothing in particular, but I just want to add that, like, yeah, I don't know. For me, I thought I saw a push on that goal. But again, it's not to sit here and make excuses. Like, at the end of the day, we're all, I think, in agreement that it's Juve beating Juve and shooting themselves in the foot. But it would have been nice if the ref on the field at least called it off to start so that they could look at it. But I did really feel like there was a push somewhere in there, and a lot of times, or oftentimes, it gets called back. But that being said, we didn't play well enough to get the win. It's as simple as that. So the draw is the best outcome based on the way we played. We should have been a win, but we didn't get it. So
Yeah. Paulo, anything to add?
Uh, well, you're right. It is always something, right? It's been that kind of a year. It's been very difficult to be a Juve fan with the ups and downs we've gone through. Um, a couple of things on the second half. I thought it was I was pleased with Tudor coming out with a change right away. I think in the second half we looked different, we moved different, we were a bit wider and a bit higher, and we had a bit more fluidity. So I was interested in how the second half seemed to be a lot different from the first half. So I'm glad that we weren't waiting to 5 minutes left to do something. Um, the Kalulu thing was a problem, but after that red card, I thought the boys hunkered down pretty well. I felt like they were physical. They were battling for every ball. I felt like we were on the brink of being able to pull this off. Not ideal circumstances, but it felt like it was in reach. So I was kind of proud of them for hanging in there and making something of that second half.
Yeah.
You know, people complained about their grinta and all this stuff, but I think they had something there that they were trying to hold on to. The Vlahovic thing, I will say that um, if you're kind of beleaguered like he is, and you have your ups and downs like he has, Tudor kind of likes you. If he goes out and says, "Coach, I'll do anything," and he says, "Go out and help defend this lead," as a kid, you know, whenever in doubt, kick it out. And I think Vlahovic just said, "I'm not fucking around. I'm sending
Yeah.
this thing 50 yards the other way." So I'm not going to blame him for that. And then I think the last part on the goal to tie it, when the goal went in, I turned off the TV and I said a lot of things to myself. So I didn't see the replay and I haven't looked since. So I'll take your all word for it. But if Gotti was pushed, that sucks because often that can be called.
Yeah, yeah, it does, and that's the thing. It does often get called, but nonetheless, here we are. Good points on Tudor with the adjustment. I did like that. I thought we looked good. It was one of the reasons after a 1-0 lead, 9 minutes later, you just can't do that. We were looking good. We looked in control. We were in the driver's seat. Lazio was not creating anything at all. They were left
They look
to
kind of
long
tired.
balls. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
left to long balls forward, trying to like recover, trying to gain territory. Like we were in control. I would have felt comfortable that we would bag another a second on them the way it was panning out. This is the way it goes. This is the way it goes this season. It's been rough. I will say, to Tudor's credit, there is a comment in the chat here that I actually do agree with, and I will say that we do look like a better team with Tudor. Like the result or not, we do look better. Structurally, organizationally, I've been saying for the entire period with Tudor, we look better when it comes to the fundamentals. That doesn't mean that all our issues are solved. You still have to sort out the final third, etc. But this was a team that was put together for somebody else entirely. This was also a team that is still suffering the after effects of that previous manager. And I'm not putting him at blame for where we're at now mentally and everything like that. It's just this team was built for him. And he said goodbyes to guys that I'm not so sure Tudor would have felt the same way about if he had access to those players. So I feel for Tudor. I really feel for Tudor. And in the aftermath of this game, I saw a lot of people taking shots at Tudor saying this is why he simply isn't cut out for Juve. He's not big enough. He is not the man for Juventus. Like using this game. But for me, I put heavy blame on Kalulu for this game. I understand, and myself included, being really baffled at that double swing. But I still don't think that double swing is why this all happened. And it's going to be easier to get through that game with a full lineup as opposed to down a man. Because we did do good defensively. We did hold the fort. But we were also like at the top of the 18. Or 20 yards, 21 yards with our entire midfield and backline. And just, that's how we did it. And we had to do it from the 60th. he made a decision there, but I cannot go all in and say that this is why Tudor cannot coach Juventus like beyond now. I'm not making a decision on that on this game. I put the brunt of it on Kalulu. How do you feel about those that are making the comment that, yeah, Tudor just ain't it after this game? Either one of you, whoever wants to start on this one, and your thoughts to that statement.
What I would say is I think it's just too small of a sample size for starters to really hone in on if he's the guy or not. Obviously, I wish he had a little bit more runway here, meaning I wish that we had maybe looked at removing Motta earlier on after the transfer window when it started to kind of go sideways. Maybe we wouldn't be in the position that we're in right now, per se. You never know. But again, hindsight's 2020. And at the same time, too, in saying that, to your point, Al, we don't know what kind of players or what kind of team he would have wanted to have and who he would have wanted to keep around from the guys that we sent away. Like, I don't know about you, but for me, right away when you mentioned that, made that comment, Danilo's name just popped into my head, and I'm like, you're trying to tell me he wouldn't have had Danilo, and he would be riding Danilo hard in these games, especially late in the game. Like, we'd probably be sitting here, maybe even saying, hey, you know, Danilo looks gassed out there because Tudor's relying on him so heavily. Like, I don't know, he's one guy that I think would have stood out for me as a guy that wouldn't have left, even a guy like Rugani. Like, just those two alone, because look at our defending right now and our defenders. We don't really have enough guys back there, right? So
Rugani would have been definitely used. Danilo, if we went back to a back three, it's like a shame that we lost him when we were going back four heavy, and then only to end up in a back three where he actually is, you know, provides service that could go
and I just
a
think
certain way.
Even mentality, like, he's got it up there. He is like a Tudor. He's got the mentality, the fight, like, till the end, like going for every loose ball. Like, he would have instilled a little bit more, you know, guys, we got this. Like, let's go. Like, maybe he would have jumped in to Guendouzi when he's yelling and screaming at Nico and said, no, we're not going to take any of this shit. Get the fuck out of here. You know, like, I mean, but again, what are we going to do? Like, the season ended up going the way it was. We ultimately put ourselves in this position by having to remove Motta. We were kind of forced to. And like I said, again, hindsight's 2020, but I know you and I are on the same page, Al, in the sense that we would have maybe liked and preferred to do it sooner, given him a little bit more runway and more time to kind of then see, ultimately, is he going to be the right manager for us? But I think it's still a little bit premature. If I have the choice, I would definitely go, like, we all kind of, or you and I are in agreement, if Conte's available, I go to Conte. But if he's not a realistic option, then Tudor might have to be the guy, because I don't know what else is out there. So again, it's one of those things that now we have to wait and see what happens till the end of the season, and in the off season, who's available.
Yeah. We'll get Paulo's thoughts on the statement that this shows why Tudor, from some fans saying this shows why Tudor can't be Juve's coach.
After the Mota apocalypse, I'm trying to make that work. Mota apocalypse. After that, Tudor got in his car and drove overnight to come help Juve. I'm never going to blame a man with that kind of character and passion for his club for anything, honestly. I mean, unless he runs out on the field and punches a ref in the face and we get demoted or something. But he's been put
which how things are going isn't that far-fetched. I mean,
that might be Udinese next. So I'm never going to put too much on him. I'm grateful he's come in and tried to do the best he can. I think he's a character guy. I think some of that is showing up in the way the boys are responding, the way they're trying to figure this out. He's in an enviable position. I don't know if that means he's a good coach or not. I would still like a more experienced coach. I don't know if I want an experiment and find out next year he's okay, or discover things that maybe he's not really ready for or capable of as a manager. I don't know, but I'm not going to blame him for anything this season. I'm grateful a guy of that character has come in and tried to do everything he can to help us through a really bad spot.
Yeah. I have reservations about going all in with Tudor and extending things. I definitely have reservations there. I've been of the same mindset as Trim that, you know, he could find himself as possibly the best option. I think it's very difficult to judge and gauge because of what a disaster things were with Malta. It almost adds to a standard situation. It almost adds to it and makes it not a standard caretaker coming in situation because of how the roster was treated and what was happening. Like, no consistency, a captain's armband passed around the locker room. You've got guys kicked off, cast away for no reason, not even financial gain in certain circumstances. And it's like depth that was affected in a coach's refusal, denial to play certain guys. It was just too much. It's too much, and it's really, really hard to gauge Tudor. I actually still, though, in my mind of how things played out, I feel 100% positive. If Tudor was here from the start of the season, we would have been better off than Malta and as far as he went. I'd go that far because even just the fundamentals being good, Malta had no fundamentals. He's too busy trying to be out there, trying to be this professor and everything, and you lose sight of the fundamentals, and his team could never gain traction. I was told all these draws are going to turn into wins. No, fuck that, they are. The red flags were there. And they never did. When you only get, like, what, back-to-back wins, like 2 times, and he was sacked when? No, that's not good enough. It's not good enough. And I'm not saying that Tudor is the final solution, but there are some saying I'd take Gasperini in a heartbeat, but there's a lot to give with Gasperini too when it comes to his handling of players. And at Juve, it's night and day. Because it's my one thing with Gasperini. At Atalanta, they don't give a shit. He can get into it with whoever. Because if they have to say goodbye to set player and they sell him and they make money, hey, just another day at the office. At Juventus, you don't have the benefit of business deals like that because everyone's trying to lowball you and everybody's trying to hit you hard on purchases that you make. And there's a lot more man management aspect at the bigger clubs. We will have players, whether they should or shouldn't, that have more ego to them than Atalanta's roster. I don't know if he would be the guy. And the fact that it's been such a disaster around Malta and how Tudor has come in, it does give me confidence in his man management side of things versus a Gasperini. But again, Gasperini has done well with Atalanta. They did pick up a European trophy, etc. But I have my doubts there. I remain adamant that for me, Gasperini is not an elite top tier coach. Do you guys think he's an elite or top tier coach?
I don't think he's elite. I've mentioned his name before in a positive light, mainly because I think he would bring something different. I think he does have a bit of Juve DNA in him. He has some Juve connections. Maybe the Juve version of Gasperini is different from the Atalanta version. I don't know. I think he has his issues, but he would bring something different. And I like the idea of something different, not Mota different, Mota apocalypse different. So I think that's why I'm curious about him, but I don't know if he's elite. He's not Ancelotti, so.
Yeah. Trim, you consider Gasp elite?
Yeah, it's hard to say just because he hasn't really had that opportunity to coach or manage an elite squad or a historic squad.
I think he only did once, and it didn't end up very well, and it was short-lived.
Right, exactly. But To your point, Al, like for me, the biggest drawback on Gasp is player management. And I think if we've seen anything in the last, go back however many coaches, you could even argue, I mean, to a certain extent, even good old Max there had some issues with man management. Like, and again, I know it's not a perfect world because, players and coaches, it's going to happen no matter what to a certain extent. But just in terms of managing players, like we need a guy that's gonna do that for us, like more than ever. I mean, it's pretty obvious now. In saying that, I know the guy that I want, Conte, he can sometimes ruffle some feathers
Yeah.
with his players, but at the same time, he's very like cut and dry. It's like this is how I want you to play. This is what I want you to do. This is what I expect from you. And if you don't do it, then that's where we're going to be on bad terms, right?
The thing with Max, though, is while he did have some player issues here and there, they all respected him. He never
Exactly.
lost
Yep.
players' respect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it differs with Gasperini because
Right.
it gets ugly. And it gets
Yes.
ugly like sometimes quick, very quick. That's the difference. That's the levels. Is Allegri can go at players. He can get heated with players, but they respect him still.
Right.
And that's the thing that's different and why it's not quite the same because you're always going to have those situations. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
to some degree, it is going to
Right.
happen. Probably the only guy it happened to a certain extent with that was overboard was Bonucci and Max. The two of them were
Right.
like oil and water. And they still, at the end of the day, got back together on the same side for the greater good, etc. Yeah, it's no different than this match. There was rumors of who was it, Vega and someone else getting into it. Heated discussion had to get broken up in the locker room before coming out for the second half, and people are like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, guys, that's normal. That's part of being on a team. I have no problems with players going at it and whatnot. They just got to be able to dust it off and say, "Hey, that's it." You know, competition, what's at stake, all this, like, yeah, it's gonna happen. I'm not too worried about that. When you're looking at a coach, a different thing. If it's constant and like what we were seeing with Mota, that was overboard. That was too much. Yeah, to nip it. And a lot of fans feel like maybe we waited a little too long in making that move. We'll see. But nonetheless, Tudor was taking some flack for this one, which I don't believe he should have. In terms of this Champions League race now, okay, for this top four spot. So, Roma, again, we're scoreboard watching to keep our fate in our own hands. They will take Atalanta on. Their remaining fixture after that, Milan and Torino. So Roma's got it probably the hardest of anybody for the remaining three matches. Lazio, Inter. But is that going to be Inter that's maybe, saying, well, we got a final that we want to be, 150% for. So it's Inter and Lecce to wrap things up for Lazio. And yes, I'll be hate watching that Champions League final. Bologna, Fiorentina, and Genoa is where they will wrap things up. Okay? And then Fiorentina will have Venezia, Bologna, Udinese. For us, the next game is like, who are you going to play? Savona, Thuram, Kalulu, Lloyd Kelly probably not going to be fit in time for it. Come up with a lineup for that game and talk about Champions League top four. I mean, I guess we're all waiting for Monday to see how we feel. We're waiting for tomorrow. If that's a victory for Roma, yeah, things are going to get pretty dicey. Do you think 6 points and we're good? I would actually probably lean towards 6 points and we're good. We hold tiebreaker on everybody. And I have a feeling that, yeah, Roma, with their remaining three fixtures, it ain't going to be a perfect sweep. So I think 6 points and we're good, boys. But who do you play against Udinese? And really, should is a terrible word, but should be good. But who do you play? How do you line us up? Let's start with the back three. Gil Push. Do you play Gil Push or do you pull McKennie back? Do Do you pull Locatelli back?
I think with the options up front, yeah, I would maybe put McKennie back there. But the thing is, not in a 3-man. Do we change our formation and go four at the back? Like, is this where Tudor is going to have to kind of concede a little bit? Because I know he's been comfortable with the 3-man back line, but is this where you drop McKennie back? I don't know. Drop McKennie back. So no Savona. Is Cambiaso back, or he's still going to be out? Like, out wide. Maybe you put Way and McKennie on the flanks, and then you load the middle with. I don't even know. I'm drawing a blank because of who do we have at our disposal? Or do me and you?
Can we settle on back 3 or
or
back 4? Do you want to keep things the same in terms of shape, or do you want to go to a back 4 for this while we get through this?
I don't know who we have. Yeah. I don't know who we have. Like, to Trim's point, if you have Cambiaso, then you can maybe consider a 4. Weah on a 3? My gosh, he's a liability if he's just with 2 other guys. Vega's he's gonna be pulling out his hair, man. He's gonna lose his mind.
I would go Gatti, Vega, and then Weah and McKennie on the outsides. So that's my 4-man back.
Locatelli, Vega, Cambiaso, and Weah with Luis in front of them. I don't know. But to your other point, 6 points is a lot. That's like 2 wins. We're not good at wins.
I know. I would stay back 3 personally. McKennie has played everywhere and covered everywhere other than goalkeeper and working one of the vendors. Okay, so for me, I probably go that route and keep Vega in the heart as opposed to dropping Locatelli back. I'd probably go with McKennie. It's not a lot, and he definitely hasn't done it in a back 3. McKennie's played 7 matches for Schalke during his time there at center back. He was used in a lot of roles at Schalke as well. He's played 7 matches there. He did a few that were full 90s where he didn't look out of place at all. In a back 3, depending how you look at it, might be a little more helpful to him. Especially how we play. If Gatti should be back. He was able to make minutes. He should be able to start against Udinese. So for me, I'm thinking McKennie, Vega, Gatti. And we could kind of shore up that side and give McKennie that freedom to kind of play and use that flank to kind of predominantly move forward with. If you're looking on the outsides, obviously we'll have eyes on Cambiaso and whatnot, but I'm okay with the outsides aren't going to be an issue. Middle of the park, Thuram, Luis,
yeah, he has to play.
Luis and Locatelli.
Yeah.
You know?
Finally, I get Luis and Locatelli together on the field for a start.
Yeah. Yildiz will be back. Play Yildiz where McKennie has been playing, which, yeah, that's fine. Kolomouani continues. Nico Gonzalez continues. It ain't going to be as bad. It's going to be makeshift as hell, and you have no depth. But, and, you know, if something happens at the back there, you are shifting out of a back 3. You are most likely shifting out of a back 3. Unless Cope Miners can finally get over this Achilles inflammation and pain that he's suffering, and he gets back in there. That does give you the freedom to move Locatelli back. But I've always felt you have to play a certain way if you want Locatelli as part of a backline because of his pace. So your line has to drop back a bit. So it changes the way you play as well, which won't be bad if we get an early lead. These are all hypotheticals and things that can happen. But again, you got to win. You got to take care of business. But the race is on. The race is heated. I hate that we have to scoreboard watch, but we have to. I hate that I'm going to have to sit there and be like, come on, Atalanta, like bag some goals or whatever. But nonetheless, that's what I'll be doing because we need Roma to lose that match. Yeah, It's a tight one for anybody wondering about tiebreakers, because everyone's been talking about tiebreaker. How does it play out? We did pull it up. Head-to-head points is number 1 for Serie A in determining tie breaks. Head-to-head goal difference is number 2. Overall goal difference is number 3. Total goals scored is number 4. If in some crazy manner those are all level, playoffs, baby. Playoffs. Don't anticipate that happening, though. Right now, Juventus, of course, holds the tiebreak on Lazio. We are in 4th. We wait for Roma here. I actually believe we hold tiebreak on all of them. The closest to us in goal differential overall is Roma at plus 18. Juventus is at plus 20. In terms of head-to-head, we have it on Bologna, Roma, Lazio. So, again, I don't think that's going to be a situation that we need to look at. It's just going to be a points thing. So, hey, this keeps going down to the wire. Fino alla fine? Yeah, we're living it. We're embodying it, okay? It's going to go down to the wire. Storm the barn. Let's fire this out. Let's see what we got here. We cannot score. Okay, Mark. Even Kolo's score was unconvincing. He was alone, and yet it was nearly saved by the goalkeeper, as Kolo's header was. He was alone. Yeah, so we kind of talked about this. A little bit fortunate there, and final third has been an issue. But what's the most annoying thing for you when you watch Juve in the final third? What do you think is the biggest issue with our final third play? That's the question I would ask.
I would say lack of creation. I just feel like, and it's crazy to say that because we have brought in guys that are creative and can be, but it's just like, I don't know.
But what is it specifically? Why are we not creating enough, in your personal opinion? Like, what is the biggest issue? Are we too cute? Is there lack of strategy, clear strategy? Is it just chemistry and changeover and two coaches that have changed a bunch between one to the other? Is it guys just not taking enough initiative? What is it for you specifically?
I think it's a combination of lack of strategy and the changeover, or chemistry, because to your point of, couple different managers maybe wanting to play a different style or when it comes to the final third. And like you said, initiative of just like, for example, on the goal yesterday, Kolo, that was a brilliant play by McKennie to open his legs up to allow the ball through. So that's like a field play to let it run in front of him. He runs to it and just chips it in. Like, simple. It's almost like read and react. They're not adapting to what's presented to them. It's like they kind of have something in mind of what they want to do and what they're trying to accomplish, but then it's just all goes to shit. So, we were saying about those cute little short passes. I actually didn't mind that, but like you said, Berto, once you get to the top of the box, you can't keep passing it to the goal. You have to eventually try to take a shot. But there were a lot of 1-2 passes, touch passes that were making short distances that were providing them space and open opportunities to run towards the box. And eventually they should have made chances or attempts at the net, but they weren't. It was just kind of consistent passing right to the net. But I think it's a little bit of inconsistency of not knowing each other, of what, the manager changeover and a little bit of that too.
Paolo, what do you think is the biggest issue in the final third?
The thing that bugs me the most is what happens at the halfway line. When we're entering that second half of the field, everything just kind of grinds to a halt, and everybody just kind of turns into like these frozen statues where we don't make the moves. We turn into a big cluster. We don't shoot from outside. We don't have enough guys in the box, or everybody's in the box. I feel like at the halfway line, and it's weird because when Tudor took over, he spent the first few practices doing these waves of attack. That's all he did, was waves of attack. And his idea was, I think, was to 1, 2, 3 shoot, 1, 2, 3 shoot, 1, 2 shoot, was this kind of running offense. So you're offensive and attacking before you get to the top of the box. So you're shooting from outside the box, you're sending it in this way, sending it in that way, connecting 1, 2, 3 through the box. So it was this kind of attack that built up between the top of the box and the halfway line. Now, it didn't quite translate, but in his first couple of games, you saw as being more direct. And sometimes that approach can appear to be as you being more direct. So my issue has always been what happens at the halfway line going forward. I think that's a mentality thing, a strategy thing. It's kind of a player thing, because when you get like a Conceição who wants this responsibility to solve the problem himself, he holds on to it too much or too close to the sideline. So I think it's all starts from the halfway line is where our problems begin, and we haven't solved it.
Yeah. I always feel like we're not attacking the opponents properly. And I actually felt like this has been true to Tudor as well as it was Mota. Like, I feel like it doesn't take a long time to study certain teams to figure out where you're going to be able to create your opportunities from. And I feel like sometimes we get into a game and it's just like, man, why are we almost at times, at moments, playing into their hand in how we approach things? I think that if you're going to play predominantly with one-man lead, like we did with Mota and now with Tudor, you have to open up space in behind that player. And that player can't, like, we hold back defensive lines and make it easier for them. There is a major lack of movement. There's this thing that has happened, and this dates back to even Max, where you've got too many cooks in the kitchen. It feels like everybody is playing the same game in terms of everybody wanting the ball to feet, and it becomes this thing where nobody then in turn is attacking space. And I actually think that that's one of the reasons McKennie actually stands out sometimes, because he does attack space. He sees it, he goes after it. And then in turn, we don't always even look to reward that space. But that's one of the things. It's like we're all playing the same, and you have to have individuals that have their distinct roles or what they bring, and it's all just too similar between the players in the attack, and they're still not basically individualizing roles and making it come together. And that's what I see. That's the biggest thing that I can tune into when I see is that everybody wants a ball to feed, everybody wants to play the same damn game, and at times it turns into them watching the guy who has the ball, and nobody moves, and it just becomes very stagnant, and it in turn makes it very easy to defend Juve. And then my second thing, Jesus Christ, shoot the ball more, man. Shoot the ball more. 20 yards out, 21 yards out, you're at this level, have a hit. A hit. Yep. And then Khéphren Thuram yesterday, and I love Khéphren Thuram. Everybody knows he's probably my shout for one of the MVPs of the season, if not the MVP of the season. But, like, man, he floats one there yesterday when he's running off probably about 23 yards out. And I'm like, dude, lace that damn thing, Like, lace that damn thing. What are you trying to float that thing in from there? Come on, guys. Like, let's go. Smack that damn ball around.
Head down and have a go. But what you said was interesting about roles, because I'll mention this. How Conte's revived Lukaku's career is by having him do that very safe and very functional hold-up role. Get across a halfway line, Lukaku gets it. Big bulky guy holds it up. The guys move to space, he passes it off, and then they assume new spaces. So they're always in fluid motion to do something following that transition out past the halfway line. So roles are an important thing. I mean, that's a simple example, but
yeah. And I just don't think we ever really honed in on that with the guys that we have.
Yeah.
The ironic part was the Lazio player got a hit on his back neck, but he fell on the ground, taking his hands over his face. Well, yeah, he's gonna sell. However, the guy's a mutt. I mean,
I think he's laughing.
That guy's been a mutt since he was with NYCFC, and our boy
Jesus.
Javinko had to show him up one time in the playoffs back in 2018 MLS. Oh man, I hated that guy from that very playoff matchup. I'm like, this guy's just the worst.
Just a goof. Just an absolute goof. Was the referee correct to give 7 minutes injury time? And they even kept playing till after the 8th minute. With the injuries, VAR, and subs, it was a maximum of 5 minutes. I mean, we're splitting hairs here. If you're, 5, 6, 7, whatever. I mean, I could point to a lot more that the referee was not correct with than 7 minutes of extra time, to be honest. I mean, there's nothing really much to say about the officiating. It's shit, and it always was shit,
Mm-hmm.
Who gets a post-match day? Oh, come on. For internal fire, Kalulu, okay, but on Lazio, just the team in general. So many guys that I can't stand. Zaccagni, Castellanos, Guendouzi. He was the preliminary day, and he still gets one, okay? Can't stand that guy. Jeez, take your pick. Just a bunch of mutts.
Yeah.
Early thoughts going into Udinese match. So we kind of covered this one already on Swarit. And he's saying even Venezia will be tricky because they will probably fight for their lives to beat the drop. And that's the thing. I think they're literally right on the edge. When you look at the standings, Venezia, 26 points. Lecce, Empoli at 28 points. It's really between them. Parma should be safe and everyone forward. Depending if they just can't get absolutely anything out of there. Cagliari, Verona, Parma, Empoli, Lecce, Venezia, all kind of in that cusp there, depending how these last games go. So Venezia, yeah, they could be playing for their lives, but God, Udinese and Venezia to close out the season, and we're worried about it. My God, what the hell have we done this season? Well, I'll tell you what we've done. 23 points pissed away from the lead.
16
That's
draws.
a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
That's a recipe for disaster. That's why I say it's like we could point the finger at all these other factors, but we have nobody to blame, This is on us. This team needs a strong mental reset. I'm afraid Conte is the right guy to this. Man, talk about the mentality of this, because we've talked a lot about Conte and him coming in potentially if he even becomes available, which I've been telling a lot of you I don't actually think is going to happen. I don't think he's going to be leaving Napoli. That's just my personal opinion. How do you, let's say you're in charge of taking over Juve. What is your idea of helping these guys mentally? What do you think needs to be done to strengthen the mentality? You're not going to overhaul an entire roster, so you can't just be like, no, just go get all mentally sound players. Well, it doesn't work like that. And you can't tell me that people were thinking that Napoli side that is on the verge of a Scudetto is a mentally strong side prior. So coach's influence will probably help. But what's your ideas? How do you restore the mentality?
I think to start is just fundamentals, like just focusing on the basics, like keeping it simple in terms of play, approach, training, like just work your bag off from day one till the end. Like just,
like Tudor, why have guys struggled with discipline just all of a sudden late in crunch time with a guy like Tudor?
Well, I think that plays, I think the whole season plays a part in that because of where we're at right now. I think a lot of the guys are taken it upon themselves to, they know what's at stake. They're hearing, I'm sure, as much as they say they block it out, they hear what's going on in the media and the news, and stuff gets leaked out from within the dressing room of what's going on between players and the arguing and the bickering. So like there's a lot at stake right now. So I would think in terms of the last couple red cards specifically, it's like an all-encompassing season thing. Because I think if Tudor was here from the beginning, like you said, Al, we'd probably be in a lot better position in terms of not fighting till the last game of the season just to qualify for top four. But I think another thing too, and you've beat this drum for a while now, it's experience. So yeah, you're not going to necessarily overhaul the roster, but trying to bring in some kind of experience or bring in players of the past that can come in and talk to these guys and just say like, okay, Chiellini's around, but try to bring some of the old boys club back to just say like, look, this is what it means to be at Juve. Like, mentality. I don't know, work with like mental strength training coaches to, get them kind of in the right mindset and headspace.
LJJ saying they have no mental problems. They're just not good enough to play for a top club. I can't agree that there's no mental problems. I think it's clear and apparent. And I think even Tudor spoke to it very shortly into coming in as caretaker, that he could see it in the locker room. I believe him. The guys he's been around, the clubs he's been a part of with Juve, the squads, I believe him. We could see it. I don't think it has all to do with just the level. Again, Napoli's roster and what they're about to achieve potentially, that's not a roster that I would look at and say, oh yeah, Scudetto winner. No. Paolo, how do you restore mentality? How do you strengthen it?
I think Trim's pointed out a lot of things that are solutions for a bigger problem. You got to start from the top. So above Giuntoli, you have to have this kind of idea, this value system, these trusted figures, the experience, the support for a guy like Giuntoli to help navigate decisions, understand decisions, and plan. So once it gets past Giuntoli, then your coach and Giuntoli in that hierarchy of management and mentality and values and personalities, whether it's players or experienced business or football directors, whatever it is. After Giuntoli, you come down and you have more depth. We've struggled with depth, and I think what Jim pointed out is the fatigue and the frustration has been boiling over all season. And if you have a depth, we're so weak at each position where we're desperate to lose somebody and see what goes in there from somewhere else on the pitch. If you have enough depth of the kind of players that can compete and stay fresh and hungry, experience, youth in the middle, you have that depth. I think a coach is then able to craft a system where the players all support each other and they all play from the same page. And the mentality is a group mentality where no one's really up or down. They kind of hold each other together, and it shows in their play and their calm and control, and also the depth where they're fighting for positions and they're supporting each other, giving each other breaks, gives you consistency and gives you a mental and physical center, middle road, right? That you can ride over a long period with the different competitions and whatever. So I think it's a lot of things, and we've kind of got all those wrong, or we're weak in all those areas maybe.
You touched on something, and this goes in line with the next Storm the Barn too from Forza, saying the big reason why Inter and Marotta are so successful is because they look at character of the player just as much as quality. We need leaders, warriors, if we want to start winning again. Something I've talked about a lot is it's kind of we're a victim of the circumstances, so to speak, when it comes to signings because of trying to get those books right. The books are right now. There's no excuse for this team any further to not be getting the characters they want. My point, though, is that when I talk about upper management needs to change, well, why and all this, we know why, but the big thing is values. The club's values. The other is vision. What are you trying to build? How do you want your team to be? What do you want this club to be? because we've seemingly been building on opportunities and we've gotten good players here and there, but the identity has to come almost at that level. What do you want your players to embody? What do you want this team to be? I want to be hard-nosed, gritty, nasty at the back. We don't have anybody that suits that mold right now. The closest one is Gatti. So, a typical Juve side has guys they can get nasty at the back. Chiellini was that guy for a long time. Great guy. We love him. You would never think that talking to him. He was nasty. Guys hated him. The best guys around the world hated playing against Chiellini. Montero. Dude leads Serie A for red cards. People were terrified to line up across from Montero. Like, how do you want to build your team? It can't just be market value. It can't just be, oh, well, yeah, we can afford this guy. Let's go. Like, no, what are you trying to do? So for me, the biggest thing for mentality is establish your values, establish your core values and your vision, and start draining it into everybody down the line. And you have to walk that walk too. It can't just be talk. There's nobody at the top, they're absent, and nobody's walking the walk. They're not even talking the talk, if we're being honest. Because they might be ready to pop champagne at top 4 finish based on how they were talking earlier on in the year, which is bullshit for this club. So it's got to start there. Conte is like this injection of when you don't have that, how to get it. But you would still need, if he leaves in 2 years, guys up top there that can keep that train rolling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why without that, even Conte coming in, it's, in my opinion, what we need, but especially because there's nothing at the top. He makes the most sense for us right now. But things that we do and the moves we need to do need to start making sense. And the mentality of this team, I have to disagree if people say there aren't mentality issues. There definitely is. And I think a part of that comes from the lack of experience too for these younger guys. Our roster has got an average age of less than 25 years old. Historically, winners of Scudetti are 27 and up for roster. It's only a couple of years, whatever. It's closer to 28, 29 on average for winning, and that's from experience. And the experienced guys have to help that mentality. They've been there. They've done that. Not just experiencing games, like winners. We talked about our target list. Fuck, that's got to change. Now you got the books right. I said, break that rule of contracts for guys that are at 30 years old. Otherwise, you'll never sign an experienced winner. You won't even be in the mix. But in my opinion, it's a goddamn shame that De Bruyne was actually in Napoli and Juve doesn't even care to think about it. Thomas Muller, these are two names we brought up yesterday on the show that are like, these are winners. You've got a team that is looking for a player that could play in a pocket behind a striker, and Thomas Muller is about to leave Bayern Munich, and you don't think he can contribute something to a team of young players, bring something up here that they lack? We should be looking at these options to help.
And people need to realize that those two players, for example, they wouldn't be cheap, but they're there to help you in the locker room. They're there to work with you in practice. They're there to start big games. They're there to come in the last 15, 20 minutes. They're there for tactical opportunities against certain other opponents. So they're wonderful players to have for a lot of reasons. It doesn't mean that you're going to try and hope they are the players they were 15 years ago. That's not why you get those players.
You guys, I know, will remember how adamant I was about why Juve didn't look at free agency to just get a little bit of help, That could have gone a long way at the back line. You're going down crunch time now all of a sudden, and it's just like, why did you completely shut the door on Rugan? Like all these things. Tuna says we should have even looked at Ramos in
Yeah.
January. You know, because he just comes in straight up and says we should have looked at Ramos in January as well. You want to talk about a winner, a guy, whatever, and I get it, older age, injuries, etc. A load management thing, the help up here that he could have brought these guys, there's value there, everybody.
Especially like yesterday in Lazio's the last 15 minutes. There's a guy who's going to make sure that that ball gets nowhere near.
And it's the mentality he has and he carries, like no BS. He just will get right in there and get nasty with it too. Yeah. Like exactly what we're crying for, what we need desperately. Like it didn't make sense. That wasn't even an option.
Yeah, it's I don't agree with how we're just young. Like you've got to round out the roster. It's got to be more balanced. That's my bigger issue than talent or these guys can't play for the club. No, they can, but they need assistance. Yeah. They need help. You can sign these young guys. You can have young teams, but they still need some veteran presence. They still need that experience that they're not going to get unless going down the line. But you need those cool, calm heads too that can like straighten everybody out. Guys that they'll listen to and whatnot. When you got a bunch of kids in there, you got yourself a daycare. Because they're all just going to battle and whatever, and nobody knows who to listen to. And we've even seen that happen at times. God damn it. Sort it out. Sort it out. I feel that it'll be extremely difficult for Juve to get those top striking targets like Osimhen and company. Would you guys spend $45 million for Kalulu and make him the starting striker? Thoughts? I don't want Osimhen, and I don't want to splash on any player right now, to be quite honest. I want a balanced approach. That's just me. But what do you guys want to do? Paolo, what do you want to do? Should we splash?
We talked about this before. I mean, we've had this back and forth. I kind of wanted both. I wanted a splash because I think we need 2 or 3 strikers at least. I'm not convinced David, who maybe is on the free, is going to be cheap and effective enough as a number 1. I kind of feel like if you want a striker in this league, that's one place you could splash. It didn't work with Vlahovic. I get it necessarily, but doesn't mean you get shy to try again. The price is too high. I want to see a splash and lots of mini splashes and then a few extra really cheap prospects coming in. I want to see a lot of volume with a couple of splashes in there. So I think I want us to spend a lot of money. That's what I want.
Trim, what do you want to see?
Well, I definitely don't want to see Osimhen as talented as he is. Furthermore, I mean, he was sent away from Napoli this season when Conte comes in. I don't think that's a coincidence. So if I have to choose between Conte or Osimhen, I'm taking Conte all day, every day. So in terms of who I would want up front, I mean, it's no secret who is my arguably favorite striker option, but at this point, based on a little tweet sent out last night by Nicolo Schira, it doesn't sound like he's going to be coming towards us, which is David and another 1A, 1B option with him, like a Lorenzo Luca or a Retegui, something along those lines. But I think for me, it's just like I keep banging this drum. It's just going to really depend on who the manager is that comes in. It's not to cater to him specifically because we just did that this summer with Mota, and I think are all in agreement that we catered too much to Mota and his style of play. Now, we've done that, and it's like, okay, we learned our lesson. So now moving forward, not that you don't bring in players for your manager, but I'm just saying you be more selective. And at the same time, a guy like Conte can work with pretty much anyone, and he's proving it again this season. So for me, it's just going to depend on who comes in. But I know based on Conte's kind of options right now, if he's the guy as an example, he's got a guy like Lukaku, and then he's got a smaller profile like a Raspadori that comes in. So that's what it's going to end up having to be. Someone like a Lorenzo Luca, like a taller stature, bigger striker that can hold up and create opportunities for other guys on the outsides, as well as maybe a smaller profile. Like David, for me, is a fox in the box. So he's not just known for scoring. He can actually, he played at points as a 10 as well. So like he can drop back and create things off of nothing. And that's why I really like his profile. Again, whether he's able to do it in Serie A, that's another story. And I understand why a lot of Juventini would be hesitant with him specifically. That's fine. But again, I don't think he's coming. So it would just have to be, I want like more of a 1A, 1B option at a lesser price tag. I would be very fearful of spending 75 million on Osman. And not only that, also with Tonali. As much as I love Tonali and it would be amazing to have Sandro Tonali as part of Juve, I think that that's not the play, especially because our midfield is so stacked right now. So stay away
Yeah.
from the big splashes.
I want to see a more balanced approach in the market. I just want it to be balanced. I think all the names have question marks around them, major question marks too for some of them. I just want it to be balanced, but I just want us to hit. I want it to make sense. Like, we need a couple strikers, we need a fullback, you need a center back, and you need to blend in some experience. And, you know, a winner would be nice. One experienced winner joining the side would go a long way. If you can tackle a couple of these, like say you find a vet striker that's been around the block, that has some serious experience, that you could bring in as a second, you know, that's willing to like, oh yeah, I'm not going to be the main man, but I can definitely bring something to the mix. Bonus. And then take your pick out of, work with the coach and take your pick out of the other guys that are on the list. At the back, Bremer's going to be back. And Bremer for me is like, he's phenomenal. If you can retain Vega, that's great. If not, take a look around. See what you could bring in. I feel like we focus so much on age and versatility this past summer that we missed on like everything else, essentially. I just want it to be balanced. I don't think splashing right now when you have so many needs is the right way to do it, because I think you're going to make that splash and then I could see patchwork coming, which I don't think helps them overall. Eventually, you get to a point where you've rounded out your roster good enough, then you can make those splashes, because it's like, okay, now we can take this shot. And we could splash here, add a couple little pieces here, and start tweaking. We're so far away from a couple tweaks. Like, you still need base work, fundamentals, right? Like, the groundwork still needs work. So do that, and then we go from there. But the splashes, as much as I'd love to see Tonali join Juve, and it doesn't sound like it's in play, and we always had our doubts about it and everything. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, if we're being honest, right? Other than the fact that, we all want Tonali to join. So let's see what the hell happened. We'll keep some of these rolling here. Who hits dead balls higher into orbit, Kupsi or Mustachio Vega? Holy Vega, that thing, okay? My goodness. Almost took out a Delta Airlines flight with that freaking free kick. Mr. Vega there. Holy man. Appreciate the initiative, and he was all over it right away and wanted it. I think he looked off Locatelli. That Locatelli, I don't think Locatelli would have struck from there. He probably would have like tried to play it into one of his guys, but my God.
I think someone in shout out to the JOFC Toronto for being at the match yesterday. I think one of them caught the ball yesterday, because where they were sitting was behind the net. I think it managed to go all the way up to the upper deck there. And
so now we know what happened. Vegas trying to hook up the official fan clubs with a souvenir there. Jeez, man.
Yeah.
That was something else. Let me tell you. Whew. Hell of a free kick there. What do we got going on? Let's take a little scan here. We got time for maybe a couple more that we'll fire out here. Should be Renato Pirlo should be our set piece taker moving forward. Holy man. Something else here. The best management we ever had, Moggi, along with former Juve directors Giroud and Bettega, Sly and Cunning. Those were the days. Yeah, you know, we've got to get it built properly up top. But, I mean, those guys, you had a good mix there of everything. from understanding what it takes, for what kind of squads you want to build, from understanding how to maneuver and how to deal. Moji was always pulling off shit, man, and like smoke signals one way, acting this way, trapping Ibrahimovic into a deal. Like, man, the dude was something else, right? And then Bettega, obviously, the sides that he was a part of. Still, like, I love the interview with Bettega. Amazing, amazing, man. Check it out. It's literally just pinned on our page if you haven't on YouTube there. But just a great, great guy. And the way he talks about Juve, you need guys like that involved. And that's like a prime example of what I think is missing from the top. Go listen to that interview I did with Bettega, and just you can feel it within him and how he talks about the club. This is what I need from the people above. And right now it ain't there. The people that are there at the top right now, they played their part. They had to be. With the numbers and everything like that, they did their job. But now they're 1 year past their expiry. Okay? We got some old milk there. It's curdling. Chuck it. Okay? Time to go. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay? We got where there was one I saw from Charles. I think we're going to try to see. What does he say? I don't agree that Tudor shouldn't take some blame for the result. Why didn't he bring in Gatti immediately after the red card? He wasted Adzic sub because it should have been Vlahovic. I don't know. I mean, we're probably split on it should have been Vlahovic, because if you're down a man, ball retention becomes crucial. Is ball retention one of Vlahovic's strong suits? Have I missed something? It ain't. Gatti coming in sooner? I could see that. Fair. What I was saying is that he shouldn't take the majority of the blame for the result yesterday. The majority should be on Kalulu's shoulder. What do you guys think about this statement from Charles there in Storm the Barn? Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We pretty much touched on it throughout the show. I think, like you said, the red card definitely changed things, and you're putting your team down to 10 men. It's not easy. We had the luxury of having a 2-goal cushion in Monza, so against Monza, so that was a little bit different there. But in terms of the subs, for me, like I said, it was strange that he put Adzic in and then he took him out. You could have used maybe his height, even though to Paulo's point earlier, he mentioned it looked like he was huffing and puffing a bit because he was really giving it his all in those 5-10 minutes he was in. But it was just strange in terms of the timing and like the double swap. But yeah, we lost that match, or we drew that match because we ultimately did it to ourselves.
Yeah. Paulo, anything to add on that one? Okay.
Nope.
When will we know the timing of the last 2 games? Well, based on it being Serie A, probably 5 minutes before kickoff. No. Right now, as it stands, both of those games are listed at 6 a.m. my time, 9 a.m. Eastern. That's what they have on there right now. But of course, subject to change, and yeah, they might flex those times given the circumstances, given the race and everything. But that would be if Serie A, actually knows how to create some added extra drama and viewership and whatnot. So we'll wait and see. But right now, 9 a.m. Eastern time is what's listed for both, subject to change. Ayub saying, Agnelli better than Moji. Fight me.
Oof.
I don't think we have to fight. I think you have 2 completely different roles. Like Agnelli was president, but he had his directors, right? Moji's a director. So I don't think we need to fight. Both fucking awesome at what they did.
Both eras were definitely, it speaks for themselves in terms of success and, just
Agnelli
the way everything went.
Lost it towards the end, I think.
Right, yeah. Which is ultimately why he's not here anymore, right?
There was a lot of discussions. He's trying to get back. We talked about that, but it's been quiet for a couple months. Like, do you guys want Agnelli back? Has anything changed on that front? How do you feel about it? Paulo, you want Agnelli back?
Sure.
Hey.
Sure. I mean, he's done his time. He's made his mistakes. He did so much and then kind of blew up.
Yeah.
But maybe he's ready to get back on the horse and the zebra and help us get back to where we want to be with the right support and the right people and some experience. And remember, there's some witch hunting going on during his time as well. So, but I would take him back, sure.
Yeah. Trim.
Yeah, and
back?
I think it also speaks to the point of, we keep hammering home that it starts from the top in terms of getting someone or wanting people involved at the club that understand what it means. And I mean, who better than Andrea? Like he understood what it meant. It's within his blood, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I think the biggest reason why a lot of us were like at the point where ultimately, like you said, Berto, it blew up in his face and he ended up having to leave. It's the witch hunt, all that. I think now that that's kind of cooled off, it's now is the time to kind of bring him back. Because at the time we were all like not happy with how things were going. Obviously, the minus 15 points, the books, accounting, all that kind of stuff. So, something was going on there. He's kind of stepped away. He's been fighting the fight, away from the club on his own terms and on his own accord. So now it's like, now would be the time to bring him back in terms of like, where does he fit his role and all that? How much involvement does he have? Like, it'd be nice to see him just come back, bring that kind of DNA that he has, and then get people underneath him in the sporting role. Let him take care of maybe the business side of things or the marketing and all that kind of stuff. Like, you can maybe be president again, but just not as much say, or, let a sporting guy come in, or a few guys come in and handle that.
Yeah. Now, we got a good one here. Okay, so Mark still, we kind of went over a probable, but I'll give you a probable, okay? Something that you could see. Di Gregorio in goal. We talked about probably maybe McKennie being utilized back there. McKennie, Vega, and Gatti, now that he's back. From left to right, I saw some saying that Weah is going to be out for that match. I don't believe Weah's out. Weah was on a card. He did not get a card yesterday, so Weah should still be available. Cambiaso, we wait to see for. So it's Weah and Costa, or I believe Cambiaso plays, and you've got Weah there. It should probably be Locatelli and Luiz in the middle of the pitch. Yildiz will be back. He'll be playing up. I expect Yildiz, Nico Gonzalez, and Kolomuani. Your substitutes would then be what? Vlahovic, Chico Conceição, Imbangula, Adzic, who could also fill in potentially in one of those mid roles, right? Yeah. I mean, it ain't going to be that bad. It won't be that bad. We'll be all right. We'll be all right. Jeff with an X here. Who's better? Moji or Marotta? You can pick one right now in their prime.
Oh man, that's tough. I might have to lean Moji for this one. But you could go either way, but I think I'd have to go Moji, especially because we're saying in his prime, like just the legendary stories for me. I think that's what does it. Like, just he's so sneaky. He came up with all these creative ways of attracting players, bringing players in. Like that's the stuff legends are made of. And that's not to take anything away from Marotta because he does it in his own way. And I mean, we're seeing it with our shitty rivals over there, like what he's doing. He's doing a job over there. So, but I'd probably go Moji.
I'd have to go with Moji personally.
Yeah.
I love the way the guy operated. I love the way he always had Juve at the forefront and would fight the fight, like amongst all the bullshit they always face. The way he was able to get signings, the way he was able to fool he had everybody focusing on him, and he knew that, and he could make whatever little slight change of directions and just take their attention elsewhere and then get what he actually wanted done. And he had a way about him in locking in talents and stuff. And geez, man, like it's great. And he just never had this fear. Like he never had fear. And he always had that trust in him. It was like, it's going to be okay. Like we're selling Zidane. It's going to be okay. Like he's got something. Like, he'll have something. All of a sudden, it's like Nedved, Thuram, Buffon. And you're like, okay, let's see. And then you're just like, wow, crazy. Made you not even worry about making a move like that. Moji or Marotta for you, Paulo?
Yeah, Moji.
Yeah. Man, Moji all day. We made an awesome like Godfather type shirt for Moji back in the day for Striped Hearts Apparel. Might have to bring that back for old Luciano there. God damn, miss that guy. And I love the fact even more that everyone else hated him. I loved it. It was like, here's our guy, everybody else hates him, and he just gets the job done. Love it. Moji, man. Marotta, yeah, he's got a lot of weird. I don't like what's going on right now, and I feel like there's some dirty work going on there with those snakes. You know, he's the Eye of Sauron. I call him Beppe Marotta. Okay, the Eye of Sauron, and there's just weird shit going on there. Especially how he could just step in, completely overtake a legend like Zanetti, who's been paid his dues, been part of that management the whole way, and right when you need a president, he gets overlooked, and Marotta gets in there, and just the way shit's going a certain direction with Inter, the way they're not questioned about finances for signing up and registration with debts, the way that all of a sudden these debts are clean, although the math ain't mathing. Moji, you're my guy. Marotta, all right. Let's go. You guys, it's going to come down to the wire. You know the drill. I'll keep you in tune with all the news. And there was some news around Savona and some interest from Man City. I don't believe it. It's not a strong source. It's strong when it comes to La Liga news, not strong when it comes to Prem news. But I did say this. Savona, I actually think he's more of a center back. And I think definitely in a back three, but on the right side. Mm-hmm. If the price was strong, I'd sell. If it isn't, I'm more than happy to keep him, especially if we're going to go with a back three, and I'd look to play him as one of the three center backs. You guys agree? Or what do you think?
Yeah, 100%. Don't really have much to add to that. I would prefer him on the right side. I think he is more comfortable suited in the CB position.
I don't think he's really a fullback. I don't think he's got the touch for it. I don't think the offensive phase is there. He's kind of clumsy. He reminds me of Giorgio Chiellini, funny enough, in how he played the fullback role before he moved centrally, and we were better off then. I think it's better off for Savona if we look at that. Paolo, what do you think about Savona?
I think if he's a center back, that's great. If we have the depth and the room for him, let's keep him. If we've got 6 really strong backs, maybe 7 or 8, then sell him. But keep him as depth for sure.
I want to see the if the sale is strong and it's going to be pure capital. If it's like 30 mil, and I don't expect anybody coming in, then I sell. If it's like 15 million, I'd probably rather keep him around. We got to remember he pocketed some strong guys at the beginning of the year when he was playing all the time, and that was still in a fullback role. 3 center back now, I think he's going to be okay. But Cabal, we keep forgetting about Cabal. Cabal's coming back too, and I have high hopes for Juan Cabal. The other piece in the news we were hearing, we've got apparently Lorenzo Luca's price tag, 35 to 40 million euros, and Juve is considering at 35 to 40 million euros for a guy that you want to be your second. Remember how we were talking about finding that experienced guy? Maybe less, bringing a little bit of a experience. Maybe we should look at that, but Jesus. 40?
For Juve, not for everybody else. That's the problem.
Yeah. And then one of these other chumps will pick him up for 18. Yeah. Guaranteed. Retegui, 17 million. It was 35 for us. God, I hate this league. All right. It is what it is. But you guys, that's really it for the news. The news is very quiet. Hey, tomorrow morning, we're going to be ready to scoreboard watch. And we'll see what happens with Roma Atalanta. That's going to help decide how confident we are in us reaching top 4. Let's see. Paolo, Trim, always an absolute pleasure having you on. You guys, take care of the mamas out there. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. And make sure you make their day extra special. I'll keep you in touch with the news leading into the next match against Udinese. We also have the next kit giveaway. 2 kits that each come with a display, like you see behind me, from Display Pro Inc. Our friends there. Check them out. Follow them. Great stuff. Awesome displays. I was looking for it the entire time, and then finally they just started up, and I was like, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And they're beauty guys too. So show some love and support them. As always, no matter what, fino alla fine, forza Juventus. There's 2 games left. Stop inflicting self-caused pain, boys. 2 games. Just win. Simple, right? Just win, baby. Just win. Let's see. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekends. Ciao.